my friends, I'm Rick and this is your Seat at the Table, and welcome to my glorious mess. Yes, this is, of course, a game not traveled. My would-be Stellar Frontiers or Frontiers, which, I am still poking away at it, and I got a fine fellow named Steve who's kind of working to help get some artwork to go in it, and God knows how long it will take me to get an updated version that I can post on Drive-Thru RPG, which is my goal with this damn thing before I get too old and I lose my eyeballs. Anyhow, this would be odds and ends. So we already did the first one where I did the run through on the cycle and did exploration rolls. They were kind of benign, or which is good, and we don't want one all the time that's always on the go because it becomes a pain in the butt. But so, as always, a lot of things go on off screen because that would just bore you to tears. It would bore you any further the tears than it already bores you. It is what it is. So I updated my exchange for Cycle 13. I have a ship traffic. I did not roll the merchant ship that came in yet to see what it. Tech One Haul to see what kind of cargo it's got to sell. I have looked through my exchange, and my exchange is shaping up. Things are doing well. Having those two cruise liners parked in orbit for an extended stay is helping. Although one of them, the first one's about it will be departing on the next cycle, so that will bring us down to one. They're buying food, water, oxygen every cycle, and they basically whatever I have to sell, they buy it because I can't begin to fill their consumption needs. In this case, the previous balance was 424 credits. My current government expense is running at a negative 77.86 credits. I get billed taxes from my platinums that total about 26.5 credits. And I'm still running around 47 credits per cycle for landing fees based on all the shuttles and stuff coming and going from them cruise liners. And then, of course, I sold an additional 45.5 credits worth of food, fuel, and oxygen. Water is a premium. Oh, excuse me. So, with my negative, so my positive count for my exchange is 537.2 credits. My negative total is 295.06 credits, and that includes the basis of all the positives and negatives on the exchange and things like taxes, government expenses, and purchase and sales that have been done. So I grossed 242.14 credits this cycle, which brings my treasury up to 666.54. That's a disconcerting number. It is, right? So I have produced yet another round of Howie suits. So that Howie suits, I want to put an end to that production for Howie suits this cycle, which will anyway give me another 25 in the warehouse, which I tend to just make it easy on the back. So I've already assigned 17 of them. So now 25, let's see, 30, 42. All right. 42. And this also brings us to my research facility has finished researching blueprints for AR automatic rifles, which are technically a Tech 2 item. So now I have the technological blueprints and the knowledge, and I also have the Tech 2 technicians already plugged in at the warehouse, which means I can then switch my factory production to 1 ton of AR rifles. Which will net me 25 assault rifles or automatic rifles every round until I stop producing them. This then tells me I've got to figure out what kind of research I want my research facility to focus on next when we talk about blueprints and things like that. And I'm not quite, excuse me, 100% sure just exactly which ones I want to. I need to look at my builds, and I suspect I need to do a heavy foundry next. I need to get the blueprints for it. There's a couple other industrial builds you kind of want. The heavy foundry is crucial because it increases larger production of steel to start with, but it produces what we call heavy steel or armor grade metal. And in that case, it's required in construction of ship components and military vehicles and so on and so forth. So we want that heavy steel production. It's a bigger facility, so it produces additional items like machinery and hardware and things like that, and that increase my production. Of course, it requires a much more crap to run it too. So we'll see how that plays out. The first thing first, I got to get the blueprints designed for it. And while I'm waiting the 5 cycles for the research to produce the blueprints, this gives me 5 cycles to figure out how the hell I'm going to come up with the resources required to build the foundry in the first place, which might be a bit of a challenge. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do in there. I think that's probably what I'm going to do. I mean, it's kind of like making my mind up as I go along here, which it's kind of hard to pre-stage certain things in this game. I mean, I would like to do that on the videos, but it's hard to do when you're really kind of not sure what you're doing until you get to that point. So, get in here to factories. Where are you at? I got government builds. At some point, I got to build a royal palace, because of the modifiers that go with it. Plus, it kind of want your house lord to be housed in appropriate facilities. Wastewater treatment plant. That's something down the road we want to build. Technically it's a Tech 1 build, so I don't have to research the R&D for it. I already have it. It's just a matter of coming up with all the requirements to produce it, which is a lot harder to do than it sounds. Mining offices. Light industrial complex, light foundry. See, I already have a light foundry, and I have the factory A. Eventually I want a factory B, but that's going to be down the road. Heavy foundry complex, there we go. I stand corrected. It is a Tech 1 build, so I already have the builds for it. I just have to come up with all the material. I need 20 tons of aluminum times the build modifier of the plant. So the build modifier plant is like 2.0 or something. So I'm going to need 40 tons. 40 tons of, what is that build modifier? 1.5. So I would need 30 tons of aluminum, 15 tons of carbon, 7.5 tons of computers, which I have, 7.5 tons of chemicals, which I have, 45 tons of construction materials, not quite there yet, 15 tons of electronics, which I have, so I got a good chunk of it. Robotics and steel, some of these are going to take me a minute to get all the equipment put together that I need. But once you get it together, then it produces 10 additional tons of construction material. Same with the hardware. 25 tons of heavy steel, 25 tons of regular steel, 10 tons of machinery, 10 tons of tools, 20 tons of industrial vehicles, and 5 tons of luxury vehicles. So it's a nice little addition, but it's definitely something I want to get going on, as soon as possible. But that tells me nothing. So I have to relook at my blueprints to see what it is, because there might be some other technology I need to invest in for my colony, and I kind of want to give myself some thought to that. Our build queue for the house housing concern. The second housing concern that I'm building has gone down. I need 3 more cycles to complete it, and I have my agents in the dojo that are including Chastity Blake, who is Fred Dodge's initial partner. She's in the dojo taking classes with our specialist. And let's see, so I'm not doing too bad. I think financially speaking, we're doing real well, and it's those 2 damn cruise liners that really makes the difference. So I need to figure out the next research, figure out the R&D research. Then we have to follow up on Fred Dodge and Kara Kermit, excuse me. And then we're also going to return with a new round of Xeno Scouts to the swamp planet, which I finally gave a name. Excuse me, we got a little bit of gas going on. Kepit's Folly. Right? It's a hell of a name. I don't know why. Just kind of a name I came up with out of the blue. I said, let's just give it that. So ideally now, originally, if you remember, I sent cycle 10. I sent a group of scientists, basically scouts, to this second planet in my home system, which is a swamp planet, and it has an industrial civilization on it, so it's quite populated. And I would like to somehow figure out ways to tap into that market. Turns out they got some kind of virus or something in the atmosphere that basically, as soon as you breathe the air, my people got sick and died. So I had to research the Howie suits. It's actually HES suits, hostile environmental suits. And now that I have them, they're going to go back with the drop shuttle with enough suits for the scouts, the crew, and the squad of security I'm sending along with them. And they will go back to the planet. They will make another attempt to land and see whether or not they have an inverted first encounter. I'm trying to avoid any encounters at all until I'm in a position to really want to affect some kind of intervention there. But they hang out in the middle of nowhere somewhere, and then they will take samples, and then I will roll to see if they were successful at getting samples. And if they do, then they will come back to Fairwind, where the samples will be presented to my research facility, and we will spend 5 cycles trying to figure out an antidote or a cure or something for this damn virus. And it's interesting to note that the virus obviously does not affect the native people that live there. They become used to it, or it's part of their system, and it's not a thing. The downside for them is the opposite. See, there's always a risk that they leave. If I were to take them off the planet and move them to another colony of mine, they could become susceptible to any number of diseases and illnesses and stuff, because how isolated are they from the standard galactic Imperium and all of its yahoos and so on and so forth. So it's hard to believe that with so many, I've got a pirate haven and an abandoned smuggler's haven on this planet. There's implications that a lot of traffic comes and goes through this system, and to find out that's hard to believe that somebody isn't already exploiting these poor bastards somehow, and that's something for down the road. But anyway, so Fred Dodge is still trying to pursue some kind of lead into the whack job that is basically trying to not exploit or extort or whatever my one platinum. I'm trying to have him trying to still chase down that rabbit hole, and hopefully get somewhere. Plus Kara Carmichael, she's the 007 that got inserted into the bar at our pirate haven, so we want to check on her to see if there's any new events of interest to look for. We've also got this thing on the merchant, and let me get this away, and we'll see. I know that the initial merchant showed up. It's a class 1 hull. That means it's about on par with the Millennium Falcon in size. It can hold it holds 100 tons of cargo capacity inside. Potentially, it might have another additional 100 tons attached to one of the hardpoint connectors. That's not neither here nor there. I'm just going to focus on it being a class 1, and so it always says here 1d4 plus. It says 1d4 plus 4. So let's see if I can find myself a D100 or a D4 here, a trusty D4. Oh, for the love of Pete, if you've ever diced enough and you have enough of these things, then get one of these lost on the floor. You find that in the middle of the night, you're hating the world. I'll tell you that. I've done that more times than I can count. Alright, so 1 plus 1, they're going to sell or buy 2 items, and we'll just go 50-50. 50 or above, they're buying, and so they're selling one. Let's see what the other one. And so they want to sell one and buy another. So the magic question is, what are they carrying? And it's a small enough ship, I'm not going to worry about rolling for passengers, because at best there might be, based on our percentages, maybe 2 or 3 passengers, and that's just a drop in a bucket compared to what normally shows up when we're dealing with our Alright, so what am I want to find out what they got. Ship components. Oh, you know, I know what I want. I just got to figure out in my head. Excuse me a second. Here we go. Here's the chart. So we're going to have one roll to see what we are selling. So 04 is our mineral resource, and 73 is radium. So they are selling radium, RA, and we'll see how big of a cargo they have. Remember, up to 100, so they'll have 41 tons, which means whatever they're looking to buy, well, I suppose up to 100 tons, because if I buy the whole 141, yes, so that's kind of how it plays. So we roll again on this little micro chart, which is mineral resources, manufactured material, or 91 to 100 is rolling one of the special cargo charts. So 47. 47 is a mineral resource. So they want to sell me iridium, and they want to buy 40. They want to buy magnesium. I don't know if I have any of that. It's just all fine and dandy, you know. I mean, I have to go grab my exchange, which I was just fiddling with, of course. And take a gander in here. So RA, well, isn't that nice? I have absolutely none at all, and I have a need of 3, which this would go a long way to help make me a little bit more money every turn. So at 3.1, so we're talking 3, and based on my numbers, that is 0.97 credits per metric ton. Clear 0.97 times 41 equals, so 39.77, and I buy 41 tons of RA. We buy 41, no, in the right spot. We buy 41, that brings us to 41 in the warehouse, and my next cycle, then I will tap that 41, and I will have 38 tons, and I'll have no negative at all. So that's how that's going to play out, and I can just go ahead and preset that up now. So 38. I'll get rid of the 41 so it doesn't confuse me, and then we want magnesium. Do I have any magnesium for sale? And I have no magnesium, so that was pretty easy and straightforward. You can't argue with that. None. And oh yeah, and then we got to add that negative. So I'm just going to go ahead and factor that negative out now. That way I don't end up screwing myself somehow. I mean, who would know? Nobody would know but you. Well, I'd know. I would know, damn it. Doesn't that matter? I would know I cheated myself. Kind of. You can. I mean, my argument's always been, what's the point? I mean, what's the point of doing that? Alright, so that brings our grand total down to 600. So our surplus and our treasury is 626. 626.77. Alright, so we're doing good. I mean, if somebody comes along with something really plush and I want to purchase it, I got the purchasing power to do it. Too much to hope that freighter was hauling heavy steel he wanted to unload, but you know, it could happen. It could happen. So we know. So now we know that merchant part is taken care of. That just means to figure out what the hell I'm doing here and do a couple videos on these and those. Alright. So is what this is. Keep her short, keep it sweet. Till next time. Going on, my friends, this is Rick, and hey, if you like the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell your buddies, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell anybody else that's in the